Okay, fellas, great job this season again. We've made another national championship final. Let's just not throw it away. Let's pick up a win and assert some dominance before we take these guys on in the Champions League next year, okay? One more trophy to complete the set, fellas. Let's go.
Party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 126 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both the All Whites and with Cashmere Technical. And coming up today, going to play the final of the National League Championship here in New Zealand, and also, as you can see on screen, Youth Intake, World Cup qualifying update and the end of season review. So if you're looking forward to all that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we took on Havelock North, and at that stage a top of the table clash in this National League Championship, and with that did book our ticket in the grand final coming up today. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner off the back of that, and also off the back of the All Whites games, which we'll recap shortly. We have had a youth intake come through here at Cashmere Tech. No standouts, but to be fair, quite a few players with 3-star or 2.5-star potential who we are probably going to sign. We'll just have a look here at the 3-star potential players, and also I'll give them real faces, make them real boys when we come back for the start of next week. But the first one could be quite useful. A goalkeeper in Lucas O'Connor, 0.5 star currently, but 3-star potential. Let's hope he ends up being decent. We'll just click on him because I want to see his size. 1.88 metres tall, so he's quite a tall lad for 16 years old. He could be quite useful, so he might be the pick of them, albeit not quite on current ability. Also 3-star potential, a striker, Cameron Williams-Rogerson, absolute engraver's nightmare, but he looks like he could be quite decent, albeit the finishing not quite there yet. But again, quite a tall boy at 1.9 metres. Looks like height was quite a big thing in this year's youth intake. The other 3-star potential players, Nick Marshall, a central midfielder. Again, he's relatively tall, 1.81. That's not quite as tall to be fair, but still quite decent for a 16-year-old with that 3-star potential. And also, going down a bit further, in fact, that was it for the 3-star potential players. The 2.5 stars, Matt Pearce, central attacking midfielder. He's got nice natural fitness, but not much else to write home about. David Richards, another fairly promising striker, actually, better finishing than our other lad there in Williams-Rogerson. Ross Hastings, a left wing back, apparently quite good as an inverted wing back. He is a bit of a midget, so definitely will be a wing back. Also got James Sainsbury, 2.5-star potential, a right winger. And the other one that we might sign, Joe Morris, another right winger. So those are the players probably going to sign from this year's youth, and take a couple, if they fulfill that potential, could be useful to us, but no one who looks quite as special as someone like Harrison Debenham from a couple of seasons ago. But while we're here, let's have a look at what happened with the All Whites in our most recent World Cup qualifying patch there, where we took on both teams in our group, and that was both the Solomon Islands as well as New Caledonia. Very similar result here as the OFC Nations Cup final when we took on New Caledonia, even though this one was away from home, 8-1. And amongst that, there were doubles to George McDonald and to Chris Jones. So that a very comfortable win. A couple of players there got some rare game time. Looking at Nikos Arsenis, that was because Adam White was out with injury, and also Billy Debenham looked like he needed the game time more than Alex Paulson. Thought it might be a good idea to give him some game time just to test if he'll be good once Alex Paulson does leave. But to be fair, we should know that. We hit him up at AFC Auckland, and a few days later, 5-0 over the Solomon Islands. So to be fair, they're just as good as Senegal based on that, because Senegal, we beat them 5-0 earlier this year. To be fair, Senegal did score a goal against us in that episode a couple of days ago, but in that, Chris Jones picked up a double. The two pretty convincing wins, and it does mean, I think, one win in that next window in which we will play the Solomon Islands. That should book our ticket into the final of the World Cup qualifying tournament here in Oceania. Unfortunately, I was hoping bashing up on those poor teams might help us, seeing as it was the case for Senegal and somewhat Australia. But no, we are still 33rd in the world, blimmin' FIFA rankings. But now we can go forward and recap the final day of the National League Championship season. Of course, 3 teams 1 point split them going to that final day. So we could be playing either Western Suburbs, Auckland City, or Havelock North again. And unfortunately, it won't be a fairy tale rematch against Havelock North. They had a sneaky chance there to qualify for the OFC Champions League next season. Unfortunately, they equalised early in the second half for our former player in Cooper, but goals in each half to Auckland City did mean they picked up a 2-1 win. As you can see below that, we thumped Melville with a full rotation, so the very fresh and fully available first team for this grand final, but is again against Western Suburbs because they picked up a 1-0 win over Western Springs, so did keep their 1 point advantage over Auckland City. So again, we take on Western Suburbs in a grand final here in this save. It looks like they've usurped Auckland City again to be the second best team in New Zealand. But I dare say Havelock North, if they keep improving, might put pressure on them yet again next season like they did in the Central League. But Western Suburbs, very familiar with them. We took them on in the Chatham Cup semi, the Champions League semis, and of course, the exact same game last season, the National League Championship Grand Final. They've been a bit scratchy at times this season, and we did beat them 2-0 before we came back for yesterday's episode. We've bet them pretty much every time we've taken them on this season, apart from a draw in the first leg of our Champions League semi-final. We should be able to handle them, and especially because no injury or suspension concerns, so it does mean we can put out a full strength 11 for this one, and hopefully pick up yet another National League title here with Cashmere Tech. I think now we are gunning for 9 of them, and that would make it 8 in a row for us here at Cashmere Tech. But I think that's all we need to cover off before this big game to end the season. Hopefully can beat Western Suburbs again to pick up another National League title. And here are the team sheets for this one. This year we are the home team, even though this one is played at Sky Stadium. And as you saw before, best 11 with no suspensions or injuries. There are Western Suburbs. They are going with their traditional 4-3-3. Hopefully can beat them again and complete a perfect season trophy-wise. And we go just past the 10-minute mark for the first highlight of this game. And that's actually our first attack of the game. Diop there with a header tries to loop that over Chronopolis, who actually snuck into that all-white squad for those OFC World Cup qualifiers because Henry Gray got injured, and he's actually better than our former one in Josh Hawkins. Didn't play, but that's quite interesting. He's 4th choice these days, but unfortunately no goal for us there. Still nil or Western Suburbs, a couple of shots off for them before that previous highlight. Hopefully things have changed off the back of that, because to be fair, I was too busy talking instead of paying attention. But this time we keep the ball down our right hand side, go back out there to Harrison, Debenham, but that bit of a loose touch, and Moller can get that ball back there for Suburbs, albeit not the best clearance from Chronopolis, albeit they do manage to clear that one quite deep eventually, but Evans drops back there to tidy things up. Sifuentes goes across goal there for Anderson, and back out now to Sam Clark, who only got a few minutes for the All Whites in that recent window. Did want to keep him fresh for this grand final. Thought it might be a good idea. Now, good ball forward there to Ezra Zumas. He was onside, bit Chronopolis, but unfortunately also bit the goal, and it's still 0-0. And only a few minutes on from that previous chance. Now there's a corner here in our favour going right into the middle of the box. We don't do it often, and it's paid off. Walid Khaled, who's a bit of a midget, I think, heads that one home, bottom right corner. And to be fair, all the highlights so far have been in our favour, but now we score a goal. It's a bit of an interesting one. Not a usual routine. Thankfully, though, it pays off, and we go 1-0 in front. And just about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this first half, and now we're down the other end here for a throw-in to Western Suburbs, and so far they do quite well to keep hold of the ball. Thomas there with a shot, but that is a pretty weak one. Straight to Sifuentes. Not much of a highlight, but off the back of that, they now have a free kick, and Tiffany tries to blaze that one top left corner, much like Phil Wilson in yesterday's episode. Thankfully, just off target as Diop picks up a yellow card late in this first half. We're going to half-time, 1-0 up. Definitely playing the better football based on stats, but Western Suburbs did get some chances there late in that first half. Thankfully, didn't take them really on a second goal to try and grab a cushion in this half. Jack Honey can come on for Diop on that yellow card, but fairly happy with how this is going. Hopefully, some of these guys step up in front of goal in the second half. So far, both teams not too many shots on target. Hopefully, that changes for us in the second half, and we can build on this 1-0 lead. And only a couple minutes into the second half, an early corner here we go near post. Anderson tries to flick that on, looking for someone, but unfortunately, no one home. But thankfully, Zuma's there to tidy things up for us. Still on the attack here inside the final third, but Debenham there with a loose touch does mean they can go back to Chronopolis, who can pump this one deep. Can the former American these days has committed for the All Whites, obviously having been selected in that World Cup qualifying squad in that previous window off the back of that injury to Gray. Now we put that one there into the mix as Janssen on the volley, and Chronopolis there shows us All Whites credentials with a very good save. That one looked destined for the goal. Instead, the big American or former American comes up with a good save, and then Zoomers, I think, that got blocked, it says there from Tiffany. A couple of good chances for us there early in the second half. Unfortunately, can't quite take them as that smacks Honey right in his booty. And it's still 1-0 at the 55-minute mark. And in fact, now there's a free kick here in our favour. Kanade puts that down for CR Diallo, but apparently he was offside. That did look like a pretty close call, but we don't see the replay. Still 1-0 Cashmere, and only a few minutes off the back of that, there's another free kick here, looking far post Zoomers. Heads that one away for some reason, but I suppose it makes sense because Evans is there to tidy things up, and now Honey, this time facing the right way, can control that ball out to Anderson. At the moment, playing as a bit of a left back, takes his time on the ball, and then goes all the way back to Cifuentes, who takes his time to come out of his box now for Kanate. Terrible pass though, and really good chance here for Western Suburbs on the counter-attack. First time really we've seen them on the attack in this half, and a couple of chances late in the first thankfully didn't take them, but now they start to camp here inside of our final third. Pico just on the edge of the box inside the byline. Tackle there from Anderson on one of his former teammates, and it falls through to Gurman, I believe that is, and it's a goal for Western Suburbs, and they equalise, and that is the reason we needed one more goal in that first half. Now it's 1-1 with only a half hour left. This could get quite interesting. He pushes the Villarreal in the back, and Guarnieri, I think that might be a bit hard to tell here from my computer view, but puts that one away. It's a bit of a messy name, that one, but he scores to make it 1-1. And only a few minutes on from that Guarnieri goal, got the name right eventually. Ezra Zuma's out there up front, struggling a bit today on a 6.4, so let's take him off for young Mitchell Clout. 1-1 with only 25 minutes left. And just about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game, and about the time where I might have started to go a bit wider with our attack, but a throw in for us here inside the final third. Just keep it there down our right-hand side. Clark goes back out there to young Harrison Debenham before going back to Kanate, whose giveaway really did lead to that equaliser for Western Suburbs. Now Evans on the ball to beefy. Western Suburbs here are putting quite good pressure on us, but that lovely ball from Evans for Khaled puts it away, and this time we are onside. There's the goal, which hopefully might seal us a National League title. Hopefully, though, we can score one more to put this game to bed, because we, so far, are looking a bit scratchy in front of goal in this one. But lovely ball that from Evans for Walid Khaled, who we can only hope might qualify for the All Whites one day. Currently is still getting picked for some Egypt under whatnot teams. In fact, Clark there with the assist, the fellow All White of Louis Evans, but that is a big goal to make it 2-1 with only 10 minutes left. And just then going into the last 10 minutes, there's a free kick here for Western Suburbs, and Cogman tries to put that top left corner, and Cifuentes gets a touch on that. That is a massive save from the young Spaniard, the former Arsenal goalkeeper. Hopefully can come out and claim this corner. Thankfully doesn't need to, because Kanade will head that one away, but that is a big save from that free kick. And off the back of that, might be time for us to make our final sub. CR Diallo going fairly on a 6.6. Let's take him off for the Hotman de Villiers, and also just start the time waste and be a bit more disciplined, slow the pace down when playing out from the back. I think that's all we'll do. Don't want to tempt things too much by changing any player roles, because that sometimes can lead to some weird stuff happening, and make our way into the last 5 or so minutes of this game. Western Suburbs, as you can see, are getting shots off. Fairly even stats actually in this game compared to most we play here with Cashmere Tech, but thankfully just taken that one extra chance. Now Khaled gets pulled from behind there. It's a definite foul, and Tiffany on a yellow card. That's a red. That should put this one to bed with only a couple of minutes left. Let's see if we get any more highlights, and maybe just grab one more goal to absolutely make sure we pick up this National League title. No highlights, but thankfully that red card is a big factor late on in that game, albeit, as I say that, no highlights. It's not too sure how big, but thankfully Walid Khaled, our player of the year from last season, steps up when it counts here in this grand final. As you can see there, stats-wise, quite an even game, but thankfully, yet again, we pick up all the trophies here in New Zealand off the back of a 2-1 win in the National League Grand Final. So another National League title for us here at Cashmere Tech, as I said before, that now makes it 9 for the club and 8 since we've come here in a row off the back of that first year where we lost to Auckland City in the final. But here's the team of the year for the National League, as you'd expect, dominated by us, Cifuentes in goal. The back four makes sense. Apart from Victoros over Anderson, not too sure what's gone on there. Anderson on the bench. Victoros, didn't think he played that much this season. Apparently actually played enough to make team of the year. Ciardiello and Khaled on the wings, with Tish and Brian from Western Suburbs and Havelock North respectively in between them, and Ezra Zumas, who finished third in the Golden Boot race. He's up top alongside the Golden Boot winner in Stipe, Ukic and Anderson, and Janssen. They are on the bench, and going up a bit further and just skipping some other awards that have been given out, we have got our transfer and wage budget for next season. The transfer budget may as well be nothing, 11 grand, but 40k a week. That's actually a bit of an increase, so thankfully no longer over the wage budget. Might still look to sell some local players who other clubs want from overseas if that's going to help their development. We'll try and keep hold of the foreigners, but it could be a transfer window where we do sell a couple of players, try and freshen things up here at Cashmere Tech. I always say it does depend on if the club's actually interested in our All Whites and New Zealand players actually follow through with that interest. But if we're going to make any moves, they probably need to. Not much of a transfer budget and only 2.8k spare in the wages. And going forward, a few more clicks here off the back of the transfer budget, wage budget, and the National League Best 11 for this season. We've got the end of season review. Yet again, no Champions League, but we did actually win 5 trophies this season here at Cashmere Tech. Just one new signing, Andre Salcedo, who came in to be a bit of an upgrade on Tariq. Now, I didn't play too many games because not quite as good as Bailey Khaled, but when he did play, he was solid. 9 appearances, 6 goals, and 1 assist. So I guess he'll be signing of the season, considering he's the only one that we made. Apparently, transfers out did get rid of some players. The big one was Ryan Billingsley, because we needed that money back when that wage budget did get reduced by quite a bit. He went over to the UAE, also got rid of Josh Hawkins, Pascal Ponzi. That was also the same time we got rid of Ryan Billingsley, and Henrik Fries as well. He left us now that he is a New Zealand option, as is the case with Xavier Smith, albeit unfortunately that was on a free, and he still wants to play for Australia instead of us. So to be fair, not much happened transfer-wise this season, just a bit once that wage budget did get reduced. Going forward to this season's results, and this is pretty good reading. It was near perfect in the National League, just that one draw against Auckland City off the back of that international break. We did take on Senegal, but off the back of that, we did get back on track and just did enough there to beat Western Suburbs in the grand final off the back of a very good Southern League season where we absolutely wiped the floor with our opposition. OFC Champions League drew the first leg of the semis with Western Suburbs, but apart from that, it was relatively comfortable, and we beat Hikari United in the final to pick that up yet again. Chatham Cup, this was very comfortable from memory. Indeed, that was the case. Wellington Olympic, I suppose, made that final a bit close, but 2-0. They struggled this season. The Olympic, as you would have seen before, by the National League Championship table before we got stuck in to that final, and also picked up the Charity Cup there with a 2-0 win right at the start of the season over Western Suburbs. So did beat up on Western Suburbs in trophy games a little bit this season, but we did claim all 5 trophies. The moments to remember: biggest win, 12-0 over Ferrymead Bays in the Southern League. They were bad this year. No local derbies next season because they've been relegated from the Southern League. The match to remember, apparently 8-0 over Parklands United. Don't know why. And the goal this season was the second one scored by Lorenzo Janssen in our 4-0 win at Otago Uni. And here it is. He scored a goal about 15 minutes prior to this, but it's a free kick. It is a good one, curving it top left corner. To be fair, I thought Phil Wilson's one from yesterday could be up there in that Havelock North game, but apparently Lorenzo Janssen, that one was our goal of the season down there at the Caledonian in Dunedin. Going forward to the finances, they're not great, but these all make them look quite good, which is a bit surprising because they're not very good at all. The top shirt sellers: Ciardiello, Zumas, Cifuentes, Evans, and Castro, still selling shirts despite the fact he played stuff all this season, with Zumas being up front. The best 11 for us this season, we've got Cifuentes in goal. That back four makes a bit more sense than what we saw before in the National League team of the season. Clark and Turner in defensive midfield. They really don't like the balling midfielders in our best 11s here at Cashmere Tech. And the front four, the surprise there, Max Caputo over Lorenzo Janssen, and his stupid face actually did quite well, 8.09 in 12 games with 7 assists and 9 goals. So that's a bit of a surprise, Caputo, as well as Turner over both Evans and Janssen. But that is our best 11 for the season at Cashmere Tech. And going forward to the accolades, and here are the awards. Fans Player of the Season, Ciardiello with an 8.3, and the Young Player of the Season does go to Walid Khalid yet again, just going down past what you saw before. Apparently, there was no signing of the season here this season at Cashmere Tech. Poor old soul Cato couldn't even get that, being the only signing. But top goal scorer was Ciardiello with 26, and also most assists with 20. So to be fair, it's something similar to Khalid from last season, but Khalid did pick up the most man of the matches, but Ciardiello with an 8.3, the highest average rating. The most clean sheets by a player in a season is now Cifuentes with 22, and Janssen now has the most league appearances by a player with 146, and most goals with 81. And in terms of competition awards, we picked up the Manager of the Year, and as well as that, Ciardiello, the National League Player of the Season, and Harrison Debenham, yet again I think it is for the second season in a row, gets the National League Young Player of the Year. And going forward with this history in the making, superb season, won everything that we could. In the manager timeline, let's just see what's changed on this. And it kicks off from our undefeated season. Last season started off with the Charity Cup, then we signed Sal Cato and picked up 53 wins in a row in the Champions League, which is some record. Got up to 600 games managed in our 2-0 win over Nelson Suburbs. It's quite fitting. My hometown team then started to pick up the trophies with the OFC Champions League. We also picked up, of course, that must be the OFC Nations Cup there with the All Whites. Southern League, Chatham Cup, Lorenzo Janssen broke the appearance record, and then picked up the National League, and Ciardiello, Player of the Season, we were Manager of the Season, and again, an undefeated season here at Cashmere Tech, albeit a few more draws than last time around. And let's just check in on the overall best 11 for the save. Of course, these days, I'm pretty sure it's all our players in there, and Ciardiello and Debenham have made their way into the team. Ciardiello in the starting 11, and Debenham at right back as well. So a couple of changes there. Debenham could really make that spot his own if he stays here long enough. The only player to make that best 11 from a youth intake here at the club so far. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Wraps up 2036 in the save, and we pick up all the trophies yet again here at Cashmere Tech. If you enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Come back start of next week, OFC Champions League group stage, and also transfers, what we do, because not much of a budget. We'll probably need to sell before we sign. Also, while we're here, I'm starting to think that next year might be a Club World Cup. Let's just see if that is the case. And it is in 2037. So next year is a Club World Cup year. Surely this time we're going to that, because last time it was Auckland City and we've won all the Champions League since then. Surely it's our time to go off to a Club World Cup. So it could actually be a big season next year for Cashmere Tech. Hopefully go to the Club World Cup, put up a bit of a fight, and maybe get that reputation up just a little bit. But until next week for the OFC Champions League, which now must win just to make sure that we actually make our way that Club World Cup and don't get screwed out of it yet again. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.